My grandfather was a 33rd degree Freemason, and I don't really know much about that other than just the title. Growing up, I dealt a lot with my father passing away when I was a toddler. And because my father had passed away when I was so young, my grandfather kind of stepped up. And, he wasn't around like a whole lot because, of course, he's a super busy guy. But when I was a teenager, I got to go live with him for a while. And it was a strange experience because everybody in the family acted like my grandfather's house was like a haunted house. Like, being a Freemason is like was really scary. And I mean, even when I look on the internet, there's a lot of people in awe about the fraternity. And I mean, he had some ritualistic behaviors, but other than that, I didn't really pay attention to any of it. It wasn't really significant until his funeral. And, everybody was making this huge deal about him being a Freemason. And that's when it clicked for me that, oh, being a Freemason is a big deal. The whole 33 degree thing, it just felt like, okay, it's a big number. My father passed away at the age of 33. So I thought that's what they meant when they said 33 degree. I know that kind of sounds ignorant to people who might be more versed in this type of thing. But one thing about growing up being partially raised by a Freemason is that they're very secretive, but they're very structured at the same time. It's like this weird dynamic. My grandfather, in and of himself, was a very interesting person. He was a combat veteran. He fought in the Korean War. He was a prisoner of war. And he was actually pronounced deceased because they had found him. They discovered him in Korea, and his body was frozen. And so they just assumed that he had so much ice damage in his muscles and his nerve tissues and all that good stuff that, there's no way he could have survived that. And he was such an interesting character. Now, of course, being raised partially by this man, I was just like, okay, maybe all of that is the reason why he's like a Freemason. I thought in order to be, I'm a kid. I was thinking in order to be a Freemason, you had to have faced combat, which he did. You had to have been a prisoner of war, which he was. And you had to be frozen. I just grew up with that logic. Like, you gotta be this close to being unalived. By the time I was a teenager, I was like, I just asked him, I was like, hey, what's this whole Freemason thing? What is it about? And that was the one thing that he was very defensive of. Fast forward, I become an adult, I go into the Air Force, and I start meeting Freemasons like left and right. Where I was stationed, there was a lot of Freemasons, and some of them even knew my grandpa, which I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like I was used to people knowing my grandpa and treating me a certain way growing up because he was my grandpa. And I grew up in North Carolina. I was stationed in California and I was getting the same treatment. And I was like, whoa, my grandpa must be like a god or something. So anyway, nowadays, there's a lot of people that, I don't know, it's like they make it fantastical what it means to be a Freemason. For me, I just think of it like it was just my grandpa. And, my father, he wasn't a Freemason. And my grandfather, it really grieved him that my father did not, I don't know, carry on the tradition, I guess. And I remember feeling like, well, I'll be a Freemason, it looks cool, you dress cool, you got money, you got power and influence. I want that. And he was like, oh no, well, women can't be Freemasons. And I was like, oh. And he was like, well, you can consider being an Eastern Star if you're interested. And I was like, oh. It just felt like second place. So I was like, nah, forget it. And, my grandpa used to be like, well, it'd be good for you to marry a Freemason. Freemason, they're really good men. And I was like, oh, okay, and I just didn't really pay mind to it. And the older I get, the more I feel like there's like a pull. It's just this weird pull. Like Shaquille O'Neal is a Freemason.
Right. About that. What is going on there?
That's a right about profession. You don't know like that.
Okay, well, can we get a close up on that area?
What is the profession?
Yeah, which profession are we talking about?
Just look at it. Is it a legal profession? Of course it's legal. It's only my profession.
Fair reading.
Okay.
It's too many times.
That's too bright. That's too bright.
Well, anyway. Oh, Mason, are you a Mason?
Of course I am.
You know, he's doing pretty good. And I'm like, huh. It's like, obviously I wasn't like raised in a lodge or anything, but it just made sense. The world that my grandfather kind of built around me growing up, even though it was I felt like I was in a bubble, you know? And I still feel like I have bubble residue on me. Like, you know, my father, he didn't follow in his footsteps, but then I always catch myself either hanging around Freemasons, Eastern Stars, or their descendants. And I was just so saturated in the way that these folks think that I thought the whole world was like that. And I was like, how great is that influence? And then I look on the internet and everybody was like, oh, Freemason, Illuminati, oh, they're the ones who make the shadow government thingy. I don't know, you know. I just didn't see it as that big of a deal. Went on the internet and I saw like a young guy, you know, being silly with a Freemason.
I seen like your tag, it had like a Freemasonry logo. Are you Freemason?
What about it?
No, I'm part of the Brotherhood, brother.
You part of the Brotherhood?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you valid, you know what I'm saying? Cause
You want to make sure I'm valid?
And the way that this Freemason reacted to this guy was like classic Walter. Like my grandpa's name was Walter.
yes, brother, I want to make sure you valid, a valid Freemason.
Listen, you asking me a question. Okay, let me ask you a question. Now you asking me is I'm valid.
Yeah,
Okay, you're coming at me and I'm gonna come at you.
yes.
How old is your granddad?
How old is he?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I leave it alone. I'm willing to be tried.
Have you made it to
Never denied.
the 33
I
degree?
ain't got to answer that.
Oh.
I just asked you a question because you couldn't answer my question.
Okay,
What's your grandmama name?
I don't remember her name. I know my mama name.
Okay, what?
But I'm a young brother in the Brotherhood. I'm coming up there.
But you coming at me.
But I had to make sure because some people just be false flagging it.
No, it's
And I was like, in my mind growing up, I just assumed all men were like this, and especially black men were like this. But now I'm learning that kind of like if you're not a part of an organization or anything, you're just kind of out here.
Yeah.
Be careful with that, bro.
Oh yeah.
You see this?
Oh, 100%.
If you wear this in, you got to protect it.
Yes,
If you
100%.
can't protect it, you can't wear it. So
Yes.
what's up on that truck?
Huh?
Where's your home?
Like, where do I stay? Like, come on. All right, you see, this level's to it. All right, man.
You good, bro.
You just kind of in the wind. And I'm so used to questions like what this Freemason was asking. You know, if you're going to say, you know, you're going to see if I'm legit, okay, who are your foreparents? And I still talk like that because that's how I was raised. I did not know there would be people who don't even know how old their grandfather is, but they're going to check for other people. And you know what? Maybe that's just the nature of people who are just out here. There's no real structure. And I think that Freemasonry, my grandfather being a part of that fraternity, gave me a lot of structure growing up.